There, that should work a little bit better. Say hi.
Hi.
There we go. Okay, cool. Techno. Whoop. That mic gets a little too much in my face. Oh, or on my head or something like that.
I wondered why you weren't responding to me.
Yeah, I had gone to headphones so I wouldn't get echo in our prior meeting because I could hear her like two rooms away and vice versa. So I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna put headphones on so we can have two people on a Zoom call in the same house essentially. So hello everybody. Um joining us right after it has been a day of calls right now. So this is not one of those early morning ones. This is one of those where it's not about having too much caffeine. It's about possibly not having enough caffeine. So
I
let's see. Did we have a topic?
didn't see any topics out there. Um, so I was thinking, one, we haven't talked about doing like a podcast or anything in a while. I was thinking maybe like how to promote your business, uh, kind of other ways outside of marketing. That was one. Uh, Another be marketing. I could get into like some heavier stuff like SEO, websites, Um, I wasn't sure if we wanted to delve into that yet or exactly how
I
we put
think
this together.
I think fun ways to promote your business. Some of the thoughts on that would be good. Because you've got some good stuff too. I think promoting your business slash networking. So I'm thinking one would be, it's maybe a good little twofer, is do it from a networking point of view and a like real world and stuff like that. And then separately, maybe more of a web SEO type stuff, content.
All right, now that I found my notepad, what was that first one again?
Maybe one's like promoting your business, networking, things like that. So more like I guess real world things you can do versus then we'll do a second one will be more like web SEO, content production, stuff like that would be more digital way to do it.
Oh, okay.
That may be a good little combo of stuff, I think. Whew, all right. It is time to take a deep breath. Everybody, deep cleansing breath and breathe out. Okay. There we go. That's the cool thing. Side note, this little bonus stuff. If you have not on a regular basis, like probably each day, taken a deep breath, big enough to like fill your lungs, do like two or three of those. It's just actually a really good thing. It's a really good exercise because you don't realize how little you actually use your lungs and how much your lungs probably, they think there's probably parts of your lungs haven't touched oxygen in a couple of days if you don't do like a really like and like suck all of it and then go and then suck even a little more in and then you blow it on. So now like you've really expanded the balloon. I did that in a one of these healthy this is one of those cold water plunge type classes. They were talking about breathing techniques and all this stuff. And that was one of the things I was like, wow, I guess I don't very do that very often, but it is actually very refreshing to do so. So there you go. Healthy bonus. Knowing is half the battle. And we'll do our countdown to a three, two. Well, hello and welcome back. We are continuing our season of building better businesses. We're building better developers. We are developerpreneur, but building better developers is easier to say. So we're going to go with that. My name, not that hard to say. I'm Rob Broadhead. I'm one of the founders of Developerpreneur, also a founder of RB Consulting, where we help you solve problems. Basically, is the nub of what we do. Is we work with you to understand your business. We talk through how you do it. It's basically educational you as well because you're going to explain to us what are the ins and outs of your businesses? What is it that makes it valuable? Where do you add value? Where are you separating yourself from the competition? And then we take our knowledge of technology and all the tools that are out there and how to build technology teams, look at what you have, and then find a way to craft a specific recipe for you to move forward in a better way with technology, leveraging that so that you can be more productive and make better use of that huge investment that we call IT. Now, good things and bad things. So still in the midst of it. I think I mentioned this one before, was that we got a cash offer on our house, but we had to be out in 2 weeks. It is almost that time. Another like good thing, bad thing that's a part of that is we're going on a cruise in like hours from now. And we will be out at we've had it planned for a while. We're gonna cruise for a couple of days. We're gonna be mostly out of touch. So lots of work stuff that silly I'm not gonna be able to get to for a few days. There's a lot of like other stuff that I'm sure is gonna be going on. We've had inspectors at our house, we had all kinds of crap going on, trying to move, trying to get everything out of the way. So it's very good because we're going to be able to like get all this stuff done quickly, and we're going to have a little vacation here and all that kind of stuff. But it's also bad because stress. The other thing that makes it bad is Michael. He's over here. He's stressed me out because he hasn't introduced himself yet. So I'm going to let him do that and take a little bit off my plate. Introduce yourself, Mr. Michael.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Meloche. I'm one of the co-founders of Developer Building Better Developers. I'm also the founder of a company called Envision QA, where we take test-driven development approaches to building software. We work with small to mid-sized businesses, clinicians, essentially anyone who has software that's not really working for them, for their business, for their product. We come in, we help you assess your current situation, figure out the ins and outs of your processes, and we help you work through a plan to basically make the software work for you, not you work for your software. So if you find yourself where you're working, writing notes on papers or putting post-it notes all over the place because your computer doesn't do it, or it makes it easier, you have a failed process. We will help you fix that.
Today, I want to focus on this episode. I want to focus on promoting your business, and really it's just a little bit about networking, but I want to talk a little bit about maybe thinking outside of the box, because this is one of the things that I think we miss way too often. We think about networking as like we've got to get a bunch of business cards and we've got to go to some lunch, we eat some rubber chicken, we have like the same crap that everybody else has, we shake some hands, everybody swaps business cards, and hopefully magically everything happens. And as you may have learned, because we have talked about, we've interviewed some really good networking people in the past. There's several sites we've talked through, so you can go back through the interview season, the epics that it was, or like 80 some odd episodes or whatever it was that we did that were all interviews. And there were a lot in there that were really good about taking different approaches to networking. Some of them were digitally based. So we talked about like podcasting and writing books and all these other little things that were out there. But this one, I want to talk a little bit more about the in-person kinds of things. Now, one of the things that I think we don't consider often enough is just getting out there and doing something that you're wearing your business shirt, or you may have a business card, or somebody may talk about your business, but you're not really there directly to network. So one of the things that happens on a regular basis that everywhere, no matter where you're at, there are going to be some sort of, usually they're charity events of some sort. So maybe a work day or something like that. So it could be, and it could be something like very hands-on. You could be working at a soup kitchen and maybe they want to get, the local community in there. Or around Christmas time, a lot of times you'll get people will go together and they'll purchase gifts and then take them to certain places. Or maybe during the summer when kids are out of school, they'll go deliver, lunches and stuff to, the in neighborhoods that are, poverty neighborhoods and stuff like that. Or it goes on and on and on. There's a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of it is it's related to some community building event of some sort. So it's really what interests you. So if you're interested in, I don't know, helping cancer patients, or if you're interested in teaching more people about baseball, or whatever it is, there's a wide range of stuff you can do that all of these they're really, they're giving back. It is, an idea of some sort of community service in some way, form, or fashion. The bonus is that if you're you're going to feel good doing this, and it's something that you can do, you can give back, like I said. But the other thing is this gives you really an opportunity, if you're thinking about it, to talk about your business, to get to learn what other people are doing, and to see where you may fit in, and to get to know your community, particularly if you're some sort of more of a traditional bricks and mortar kind of a company. If you're somebody like me and you're completely virtual, then it may be a little different. But in those cases, we'll talk about that a little different more in the next episode. But there, it may be something where you want to do more, online gatherings or virtual meetups and things like that. But in person, there are obviously there's the meetups. You can go to meetup.com, even though they are, they're charging now. There's a lot of stuff they've switched around in that. But you can also find stuff through Facebook groups. You can find there's going to be some LinkedIn things and stuff like that. Some companies you'll find that they will do happy hours, or some will do virtual happy hours, things like that, where you can sort of hang out and get to know some people. And those are the things I think that you really want to look for. So one that it is not repetitive sounds bad, like redundant or something, but it's more like where it is a repeating event of some sort. So yes, you will see the same faces over time will start to recirculate. But the nice thing is then you get to actually have time to know these people. And it's not like the speed dating things that are out there in a normal one where you're like, you got 30 seconds, bam, go. All right, we do everything in the world. Pay us a lot of money. Awesome. And everybody else is like, hey, we do the same thing. Great. Okay, swap a business card and you're done. No, this is something where you actually get to, spend some time, get to learn what they do and whether they are even a customer, because some won't be. There'll be a lot of people out there that have nothing to do with you as a customer, but maybe there's somebody that you can refer somebody else to, and that eventually does get you to a customer. And we've talked about that before in some of our interviews where we talk about having sort of these expanding rings of where there's some people that are like ideal and you really need those, but then as you get further out, those people your business doesn't need them, but that doesn't mean you don't want to talk to them because they may connect you to somebody that's in that inner circle, that inner ring. So whatever you do on a regular basis that is social, and hopefully there's at least something you do. It could be as simple as like, or as antisocial, I guess, is like going to a library. Maybe you go to a library on a regular basis and you go to like a book club, or a crocheting club or something like that. I mean, you could do some of this very milk toast, not usually connected to network or anything like that. But those are actually sometimes some of the best things to go to. If you're going to any kind of a hobbyist thing, if you're into like cars, you go to a car show, or if you're, if you go to like, you name it, if you like to go to circuses, if you seem like to go to movies, or if you like to go to, shows like concerts and stuff like that, there's groups that will do this, and you will find groups that are within the genres of whatever it is you're doing. I don't know that there's like heavy metal crochet groups, but you never know. There's probably like, the hardcore grandma crocheters, and then there's like the young kids that are just like, hey, I want to try it. Those are the kinds of threads, for lack of a better term. Those are sort of like the themes that you want to look for in your groups, because you want to find something you connect to. And this is just what we talked about when we talked about like writing a book or doing a podcast or anything. Find something that interests you enough that it's like, okay, this is something I enjoy doing anyways. And then while you're there, think about how you can introduce your company into it. Now you can be, obvious, and you can have like a hat and a coat and a shirt and shoes and shoestrings, and have a little laser that points in people's eyes and it burns the image of their logo or something like that. Okay, don't do that. But there's a lot of ways that you can get people's attention, and some of it can be very subtle and some of it can be not so subtle. The subtle approach I personally prefer is like if you have just like, you happen to wear your company shirt from time to time, or just occasionally drop that, well, the company I work at, which sometimes will, often enough will lead to, well, what is the company you work at? What do you guys do? Thinking about those things, one, is going to be a way to get genuine kinds of networking going, is to really get to know people and get that going. But the other thing is it just thinking about how you will approach that. How will you talk about your company when it's with, your drinking buddies or somebody like that? It's like, how do you do it when you're not selling? You're not really selling your services directly to this person. You're really telling them about your company. And guess what? A lot of times that approach is going to be one of the best ways that you can create that into an elevator pitch of some sort. So there's a couple of things I want to throw out there, and let's see where Michael's mind is wandering.
Thanks, Rob. So, right off the bat, you talked about, promoting your business, going to community events, maybe volunteer, do things like that. the and you talked about meetups, which is very important as well. But if you are in an area that where meetups might not work for you, or Facebook groups and that aren't really like if you're in a small town or you're not like Nashville, but maybe like Jackson, Tennessee, which is a little bit smaller but growing massively, there are other outlets to look at. And if you have no idea where to go, go out and just walk the town. So one of the first things I did, because me and my wife moved to Jackson in the middle of COVID, everything's closed, and, no one's around, nothing's open, you don't know anything. Well, as the world reopens, first thing we did was we went to town outlets and just started walking around, seeing what's there, what businesses are there, who's open, what is there to do. And then we found local magazines. So don't always go digital. You can also find like a lot of towns or businesses have local flyers. You just have the Penny Saver, you have the Nashville Scene or the Rage if it's even still around. Jackson has a couple of different magazines. They've got like the Jackson magazine. There's another one for Pickwick and a couple others. But what's interesting about these is it highlights those social events that Rob was talking about. There's like these galas that go on all the time for charity benefits, silent auctions, golf tournaments. These are great little things. If you find something that you're into, go to these. Just go check them out. If you like them, just start talking to people. And then one, you might find a social scene that you didn't know that was there that you find is fulfilling. Two, you may make some new friends. But three, the best part is, as you're at these events, talk to people, listen to them, ask them, hey, what do you do? Oh, you have a company. What is it that they do? Going this route, it actually reconnected me with the Chamber of Commerce again. I used to be a member out in Williamson County, and that chamber wasn't really great at networking, but the one here in Jackson is fabulous. They host once a month free happy hour meetings where everyone goes to a different business once a month, and you spend 2 hours networking, free food, drinks, and all that. Look for things like that. It doesn't always have to cost you money to go out and network. And if you go to something like that, you also get to meet other like-minded business members in your community. Plus, that also introduces you to those other events like Rob was talking about, because it's like, oh, through the chamber, hey, we're offering or we're doing this benefits drive, or hey, we're doing this volunteer drive, things like that. It can grow from there. Other things to kind of think about that I kind of stepped into is look at your local community or I guess WeWork type offices. Some of those offer networking hours or free hours where you can just go in, hang out, check out the area. Those are interesting places to network because if you go through that period, when it's like the open hours, it's more open. People are more talkative. It's not always as, everyone's heads down working. So that's another place to kind of check out because you might run into someone that is like-minded like you that, hey, they could use my services or, hey, I could use theirs. Some other things to think about too, like restaurants. You mentioned happy hour. If you do want to go out and network and find areas around businesses, one of the areas in Jackson anyway that's interesting is this new little restaurant pub that opened right across from the courthouse. And interestingly enough, all the lawyers tend to go over there right after court gets out of session, or they go to another local restaurant right around the corner. If you want to kind of engage with other businesses or lawyers, or depending upon who your target market is, go to those areas where they frequently hang out. If you're looking for, to help lawyers, go to places where lawyers hang out after work. If you're looking for baseball fanatics, go to like your local town's baseball games, go to a high school game, go to a college game, or go to like a AAA or, smaller venues are usually better. I actually find like the, what's the sounds? That's like what AAA or some of
Yep,
the
one of those.
places. Um, they're more open. They're more family friendly. People are more engaged in talking and enjoying the game. But it's more of a social time than just watch the game and drink some beer or eat some hot dogs. So there's a lot of areas and ways that you can network yourself and your business. And there's also other ways where you can just go out and kind of immerse yourself in your community in these groups to listen to what it is that they're talking about. What are their problems? Are these your customers? Are these your target customers? If they are, great, you're in the right area. If they aren't, could they potentially be, or should you shift and go to a different type of meeting or a different type of networking or social event to get yourself in a little more situation where you're talking to the right people?
I think this, that brings in up to mind the classic, I guess, where if you go back, now a couple of decades, where everybody would go play golf and get a lot of business deals done out while golfing, which is honestly, when you think about it, it's like the perfect way to do those kinds of things because you're with a small group for hours, you're walking around, you just, you're chit chatting about whatever. So it's a captive audience to some extent and actually very valuable to very good way to do that. And so anything you can think of that is in that vein, which includes, you know, if certain people are, hanging out at the close local places for happy hour, or if everybody goes to Friday night, they go hang out at a certain restaurant, or Saturday night they go and go to dance at the local dance hall, or whatever it happens to be, is you're going to be able to find people that will probably do this on a regular enough basis. You get to know some people, you'll see the same kind of faces. An example that I'll use out of my own experience, which is a little different, is that we actually have a whole a little group of friends that the only reason we know each other is because we went to concerts, that we went to local bands, and you go to enough shows and you get to see the same faces. Then sooner or later you start talking to people, and there's all these people we know that we would never know except we've gone to a bunch of different shows. They've gone to a bunch of shows, and now we've actually expanded, and it's amazing how many people have expanded the relationship outside of that. So you'll meet, maybe meet people for dinner before a show, or you'll go somewhere after a show, or you'll talk about another group that you found, and then everybody will go to another show together. There's things like that that you find that commonality, you get to know some people, and then you can sort of work in some of your networking. It is a slow burn. This is not something where you're going to like just go out there and say, like, this week I'm going to get 500 contacts doing this. This is a little different approach, but I think it's a very valuable one because what you're doing is you're building true relationships and not just swapping business cards and shaking hands. You're actually going to have people that you get to know, and they're going to feel, people buy from those that they know, like, and trust. And so that's where you're going to get, definitely the no, but you're going to give the investment so that they like and trust you. And that's where you're going to start getting some really good customers somewhere along the way. Now, not everybody is going to be, but you don't need that many for this to be a worthwhile investment. Challenge for the week. What is your favorite thing to do outside of work? Because we love our work. What's your favorite thing to do? And then if you do it weekly, find one way, just one time, strike up a conversation about your work with somebody, some way, form, or fashion. Even if all you're doing is you just like, so in a silly way, almost, are like, hey, guess what happened at my work the other day, or where I work, this happened, or yesterday at work, where you're just like beating that drum so that eventually somebody's like, fine, I'll bite. Where do you work? Or something like that. Test some of that stuff out. Just test the waters to see and be sensitive to how conversations go, where they may actually be an opportunity for you to sort of like stick your foot in the door and say, oh, by the way, that's something that I do, or that my company does, or that we are building, or something along those lines. I think it'll be it's one of those things that'll be a very insightful, good learning experience as a challenge if you don't do this already. And if you do it twice as much. I don't know, pick a number, do a multiplier. But I think it is something. It's like, see if there's maybe a different way. If you do this on a regular basis, let's say you play golf and you do networking while you golf, pick something else. See if there's something else that you do that you can now expand that into a different venue or line of work, or whatever it happens to be. That being said, first, shoot us an email because that is always the best way to just like make this better each time. Give us an email at info@developreneur.com. You can leave us contact form, any kind of contact information you want on our contact form out on developreneur.com. You can hit us up, follow us, respond to us, send us all kinds of suggestions of that on X. We are Developreneur. Facebook, we have a Developreneur page. You can go out to Developreneur channel out on YouTube and you can see this and hundreds, literally hundreds of other content and pieces of work that we've done over the last, I think it's like 7 or 8 years that we've been on YouTube. That's now becoming something that we are like, have been there. We are established. We've been there a while. And of course, our website, tons and tons of content there. Always looking for feedback. Let us know. But for now, go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Bonus material.
So one of the things neither of us really touched on was also like conferences, trade shows, local like community events. Those are great places to go interact with the community, interact with different businesses, and even possibly people within your sector of business if you go to like a trade show or a conference. Other things I found, even going to like the local craft fair or little special events out in parks and that, there's hundreds of vendors out there. You never know who you talk to that might end up needing your product or your services. So really the sky's the limit, and it doesn't really always have to cost you to go out and eat. It's just a matter of driving somewhere and interacting with people.
And I think that's the key is the interacting with people because I cannot even begin to count how many of my customers over the years, their primary, the work that we did for them was not their primary job. It was not what they identified as. They would be like, I spent a year working for a guy that basically was a lawyer. He did contract law, but we were building a social networking site for him. This is way back in the day, but still, it's like it's a guy that you wouldn't expect would be in that line of business, and yet he is. And that was, I think, if you want good examples of that, is go back and again, this seems self-serving, but it's really not. Go back and listen to the interviews that we did a couple seasons back, because I was, and this is one of the things that always amazed me, is that I would start into the conversation. Most time did not know the person we were talking to. Like sometimes it was like the 5 minutes before I hit record was the first time I'd ever spoken to them. I did a little bit of research to get some background and then like off and running, and had some incredible conversations because we would just let the conversation flow. And like I said, there were a couple of times that I stopped recording and talked to those people for an hour afterwards. It took a long time for us to actually wrap up our conversations because we had all of these commonalities and all these things that we wanted to talk about and all of these different ways that we could explore a relationship of sorts. And it even goes back to even the most simple stuff. Like my favorite of the way back, one of my favorite things that you've now heard several times when we went through those was when we had the interview and he wrote a song at the end, spent 2 minutes. And he talked about how this was a great little brand and marketing thing that they do is they go out there, they create a song based on somebody. And the nice thing is it's like they're going to remember the song a little bit because now they've spent some time to get to know you enough to put together the song. And then you're going to remember it because like how often does somebody write a song about you? And it's about you. So it also gives you that connection. So things like that you can do are just are great. So we could go really deep in that. Like I said, we have in the past, and we probably will at some point in the future. But for now, we're going to let you guys get back to it because we got to get back to it. So go out there, have yourself a great one. We will talk to you next time around because we are not even close to done with this season. So we're coming back. We're going to do some more. We got real this time. We're going to get digital and virtual next time. Talk to you then.